The existing commercial laws, some of them have been in place for a long time, especially in Africa. For example, in South Africa, the laws have been in place since 1976 already. They are currently going through a review process, have already been passed. In other countries, laws have been set up in the last 10 years, plant variety protection and seed laws. And in some places, they're still being developed. The problem is you can't use these laws to try, you can't try and shoehorn farmer seed systems into these existing laws, because they're not designed for that. They're not designed for the diversity, for the heterogeneity, for the different conditions that farmers face. The majority of crops and seed in Africa are produced by smallholder farmers themselves. They're exchanged by smallholder farmers from year to year. And quality is very important in these seeds. But the formal sector quality system does not take into account the farmer seed. It's geared towards formal markets, towards a particular kind of standardized production system. So this isn't really appropriate for farmer seed, which is the majority of seed on the continent. It's a very centralized system, whereas smallholder farmers are scattered across the region or geographically scattered. There are difficulties for smallholder farmers to access the system overall, and governments lack resources and capacity to actually manage large amounts of seed. Even more important than that is the issue that the formal sector seed system or seed laws are based on varieties with very fixed characteristics, the so-called DUS system, which is distinct, uniform, and stable. Now, this system doesn't take into account the heterogeneous nature of farmer seed. This seed is adapted, it adapts over seasons, and cannot be accommodated in this rigid and fixed framework. So if farmers want to be exchanging their seed and it hasn't been acknowledged or it hasn't been recognized in the formal system, then they can be criminalized for that. Okay, so there are alternatives to this, and these alternatives are rooted in existing farmer practices and farmer knowledge. Some of the key areas that farmers already do and where quality controls are practiced in farmer seed systems include in-field selection, good agronomic practices in the field, and good handling and storage practices. There's a lot of research that farmers generally prefer their own seed over formal sector varieties for a number of reasons. For example, these seeds have adapted over time to local conditions. The seeds are readily available because farmers themselves are producing them. And although yields don't necessarily always reach the same level as the improved varieties, they tend to produce under a large range of conditions, including very difficult production conditions, for example, in drought conditions. So this requires a few things if we want to take into account this huge amount of work that farmers themselves are doing around seed. The first thing is that these seeds and farmer practices, their seed management practices, need to be recognized. Farmers do also require some kind of support to improve and to strengthen their practices and knowledge. And we are arguing that the public sector should be orienting some of their agricultural support funding towards supporting this kind of activity. So the paper considers these issues and also draws on case studies from Brazil and East Africa to show some of what farmers are doing and some of the possibilities of what could be done in farmer seed systems and how they could be supported. So currently what we're really hoping in these laws is to secure some good exemptions for farmers and for farmer seed. Most of them do include some kind of exemption for own production, maybe some local exchange, and we want to try and expand that exemption as far as possible so that there's a space that if farmers want to produce their seed, if they want to exchange seed, there's space for them to do that.